Hello, everyone, and welcome to Admissions for Athletes, an interview series in which we talk to experts to demystify the college admissions and recruitment process. Please welcome nationally recognized performance coach, former Nike executive, motivational speaker, and author of her first book, Raising Empowered Athletes. Amazing. Kirsten Jones.
Yay!
Oh, I'm so excited you're here. So not only is Kirsten an athlete herself, she is in the Division I Athletic Hall of Fame at William and Mary for volleyball. She is also the parent of several successful athletes, a journey that helped inspire her to launch a very, very insightful podcast called #Raising Athletes, which then, of course, inspired her to write a book about this to help other parents navigate this space with not only grace, but really perspective, which I think is so important. Kirsten, thank you so much for being here and joining me today. If you can't already tell, I'm a massive fan of the podcast, the book, you as a parent, as an athlete. We have so much to talk about.
Thank you so much, Peyton, for the introduction and for having me. And I'm so thrilled to be here to talk with you. And this is such my jam, and it's yours obviously too, which
Yes.
it's going to make it so fun.
I'm going to give our viewers today just a little quick overview of what we're going to talk about. So athletic achievement can be a significant part of what college counselors and advisors refer to as, quote, candidacy. That's not to be confused with a PhD candidacy. Candidacy essentially means well-developed academic interests, unique extracurriculars, leadership skills, any and all of the elements that make a student really appealing to colleges. So we're going to spend a lot of time today discussing how student athletes can elevate their candidacy in this particular arena of sports if they are enjoying and thriving within their sport, and they want to pursue this path. That's a really important element. Kirsten's going to share some insight to help families decide what factors to consider when they're searching for colleges. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the recruitment process, specifically from a parent's point of view. Kirsten's been through this twice now, and then not one time. So really interesting, including how to engage with coaches, how to utilize them as a liaison to the admissions office. And then finally, we're going to get to hear from Kirsten exactly how she works with teen athletes, teams, and coaches through the recruitment process and all of her amazing, amazing wisdom. Okay, so that said, let's dig in. So you give really, really great advice to parents on how to navigate the craziness of youth sports. I seriously believe the more people that read your book, it will help change the landscape and help us all return to some semblance of like a life balance. For today's purpose, we're going to zero in on really the high school years to when, in your opinion, is it time to get serious about a sport? You often refer to this as, quote, specializing, i.e., focusing on one particular sport and like really, really honing in on it.
I like to say before age 13, if you can stretch it to 14, we have three things you focus on: friends, fun, and fundamentals. And parents, avoid the fourth F, FOMO. Well, he's doing this. Well, he has a private coach. Well, she's going to Sweden. Well, they're on that team. Focus on the things that you want your kids to get out of it. And then once they get to end of middle school, early high school, some schools, I mean, even I'm in Los Angeles, and some schools will even say, we'll have no cut in freshmen. We'll allow everybody to play everything through, at least through freshman year. What we know are the best athletes are multi-sport athletes. So if in fact you're trying to raise, if you think that your kid may have better than average athleticism, allowing them to play multiple sports for as long as they can, less burnout, less overwhelm, better visualization. They use different bodies. They don't get injured. 92% of NFL athletes played multiple sports. That's one of the few sports where they don't have club and all of that early on.
Yeah.
So they kind of have to do multiple sports. Honestly, getting on any NBA, WNBA, pro beach volleyball, any of those, most of those athletes played multiple sports until high school.
You mentioned this in your podcast recently. You were talking to Jess Mendoza about how she thought she was going to be a basketball star, but softball was like, I pick you. Yeah. And I love that she played sports all the way through, all the way through. Okay. So now our kids in high school and they're thriving and they're enjoying, most importantly, their sport. So let's talk strategy at this point. How do student athletes get in front of the college coaches that they hope to gain the attention of?
Different sports work different ways. I mean, I have a golfer right now. I have an equestrian rider right now. I have, soccer, volleyball, like every sport has its different thing. I mean, but swimming and golf, it's a score and people are going to see your scores. And if you have the right scores, you're going to get noticed. With volleyball, with soccer, with basketball, it's getting to events. Or if you have a list, and depends on the kid, my kids didn't know where they wanted to go. So I was like, okay, let's get all the conferences out there and try to decide, are you willing to be in the middle of the country? Are you, like, do you care if it's a big school, if it's a small school? But then identifying what may sound appealing, and this could be even in middle school, but going to their camp. And not because they're going to recruit you there, but what you want your child to do is, can I see myself here? Are these my people? And again, it may be 5 years away. It's less about, oh, they're going to get recruited for sure. But over time, as they get older and when it starts to get more serious, okay, now we've tried this, we've tried a big school, we've tried a small school, we've tried one close to home, we tried one, it gives them an idea and an understanding of what they have an affinity for. Another way to get exposure, and particularly in sports like soccer and volleyball, and basketball, they're a AAU and club, and you're playing in those events where college coaches are coming to watch so that they can evaluate talent. And that's sending out tape and getting on their list, which again, you can start proactively doing in 8th and 9th grade. They can't actively recruit you until after sophomore year. So June 15th of your sophomore year. I have a soccer client right now who literally her phone was blowing up at midnight.
Yeah.
So it literally is June 15th at midnight that they can actively recruit you. But for you, parents, you should not be doing it for them, but you can help them identify what are the schools. I was like the proofreader for the emails. And I know one girl, she ended up playing high major D1, but during COVID, she would send like little clips of her workouts to the coaches. Here's what I'm doing in school academically. Here's an update of, me and my dog, taking a walk on whatever, but just letting them know that you're interested. They can't respond to you. But it's the beginning of the dating process. I had the NYU volleyball coach on my podcast. He said, I get 1,000 emails a day. I'm not going to respond to everybody, but what are you putting in your header? Left-handed 6'1" setter. Probably gotta click on. Right? Or something, funny. Like I have a joke about squirrels that I tell whenever I have a camp, and somebody put something about squirrels in their head. I'm going to click on that because I know that person is paying attention to what I'm doing, has been following what I do, and is like I know them. I probably know them. It's not just a cold spam. Like don't copy paste and send everybody the same thing. Show them your personality. Show them what you're interested in. Show them why. Do more than just research their homepage on athletics, but like, gosh, I love how you run this type of offense, or I watched that game.
That's specific.
What are the research that you've done that tells them that that you're actually really interested in them beyond just, hey, I'd like a full ride, or hey, I think I want to play in college and I don't know where.
So you're really lasering in versus just kind of spraying and hoping something sticks.
I think you should be focusing on your academics, and I think you should be, again, growing your game, learning more skills, and then depending on where you think you want to go, maybe a list of 20 to 30 and start there. Again, go to a camp, do some research, find out who you might know. Whenever one of my sons was interested in the school, who do we know there? Who do we know who's gone there? Like, start reaching out to people that may be in your orbit that can give you some data. Who's played for that coach? What do they think of him or her, right?
Yeah, doing just a big research project, really. We say something really similar at Ivy Method is there's 3,500 colleges in the United States. Like, you're going to find a place that's really right for you. And it doesn't have to be these 10 schools that all your friends are applying to. It's probably not going to be one of those schools. And we encourage, go walk into the cafeteria. What does it feel like? And we love when people come back from their visits and tours and tell us what they discovered. Okay, you touched on this a little bit already, and this is something you have fantastic examples in your book about, is the pitfalls. Can you share some insight into some of the pitfalls of pursuing a high level of athletics and what parents specifically can do to avoid being the parent who loses perspective? Yeah,
you see it more and more now where when you get in a conversation with a parent and, well, we are on this team. Well, we won this. Well, we did this. And you're like, you literally get confused about who's the we? Like, like, is he on the team or are you on the team or what are we doing? Well, we like that school, but we don't like this one. We don't like that coach. You need to take yourself out of the recruiting process. I say that because I think parents need to be aware of what are even the subliminal messages that we're giving them about what we value. And I do have a story in there about a dad who my oldest was playing 9-year-old basketball with his son, and he was sitting on the bench, kind of not really paying attention. Yeah. Finally, when I asked him, "Wait, what's your story?" and he said, "Fifth kid." I was like, "Oh." So he's like, if he wants to play basketball, he can play basketball. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Oh, well, tell me more. Well, my oldest liked golf. Next thing I know, we're doing the junior tour. He's loving it. I'm loving it. Next thing you know, he's 12. We're still playing. We're now traveling all over California. We're bringing the other 4 kids with us everywhere we go. By 15, we hit the lottery. He gets a full ride scholarship to go play golf at Stanford. And he's like, my wife and I were like over the moon. Yeah. And he said, and at 18, a month or 2 before he's supposed to go to Stanford, he said, "Mom and Dad, we need to talk." I said, okay. I'm never playing golf again.
Oh my God.
And I'm not going to Stanford. And he said, I don't think it was bad parenting, by the way. Yeah. So I'm not blaming him at all. He was following the breadcrumbs. But here's the advice. Here's one of the pitfalls is keep checking in with your kid. I got on a call with a client a couple of weeks ago who's 10. And the first words out of her mouth, I need to figure out how to pay for college. 10? I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, I was a gymnast, but now I'm a diver. And she was basically having these moments where she couldn't dive because she was so stressed. Gee, I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I think so. Right? You're going to get hurt doing a sport like that.
Exactly. High dive, right? Whew. So because at 10, you should be thinking about what kind of ice cream I want to have when I'm done with this dive. Yes. You should not be worried about what you're going to do potentially 8 years from now.
Yeah. That's wild.
We've got another client right now who's also a golfer who is 16. And I think she actually really loves golf, but her first words were, I'm forced to play golf.
That like hurts my heart.
It does, right?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
big time.
So tell me more. And the dad never played at a high level. I mean, here's one of the things I often find are the parents who didn't play, who don't understand how it works. Those tend to be the ones who get more because they don't know. So that's the goal with the book is when we know better, we do better. And again, I'm not judging, but giving you the tools to be like, this has to be chapter 2. Whose dream is it? It has to be their dream.
Right. And like you say in your book too, it's like less than 2% of athletes go on to play in college. If you
D1,
less than 2%, D1,
11.7, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, less than 7%. You walk into a gym with 10,000 athletes, like I was in Kansas City, and when you look around and you realize less than 7% will play at any level, less than 2 to 3% will play D1. This isn't about the full ride scholarship.
Right.
This isn't about playing at the next level. This is about grit and resilience and gratitude and teamwork and learning how to win and learning how to lose, which by the way, we want them having those experiences academically as well. Right.
100%. Yes.
And the same athlete who, she's like, I said, so tell me more about what's going on with your dad. Well, I did bad on my math quiz the other day and I walk out of the classroom and I get a text from him. He's already been in the portal.
Oh my gosh.
Already saw that I got a bad grade.
Oh my
before
gosh.
I even knew what my grade was.
Oh,
right. Parents, back off.
Back off. Yeah.
They're not your grades.
Right.
And
you learn by failing.
Yeah. And he wasn't being mean about it, but the fact that he even knows it, we need them to have these experiences. We need you to flunk the math quiz in order to go, gosh, is this important to you? It's not all about everybody needing to go to the one of the top 100 schools. There are plenty of schools that you'll be fine if you go to the state school or the community college or the junior college, because you're not ready for that. When you realize your whole emotional well-being is gone, That's when we need to check in. And then what are you saying to your kid on the car ride home?
Yeah.
There are only 6 words they need to hear. I love to watch you play.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We don't need to be, well, and that ref made a bad decision and this happened and that kid's not as good as you. No.
Yeah.
They are smart. They get it. Do you want to get more playing time? Well, yeah. Okay. So what do you want to do about that? Well, I really should talk to the coach and I should get more reps. And what if I got there early? What if I stayed late? What if
yeah.
Okay, let's brainstorm some ideas. Just like college prep work, there are so many things that we have control over that we give away. Whether you're on time, if you have a good attitude, are you prepared? Are you willing to do extra? Every coach, every student, every hiring manager is looking for the one that comes early, the one that stays late, the one that does the extra reps, the one that's the team player, even when they're not getting the reps. And I know we're going to jump in about recruiting, but not by far the number of coaches that I've spoken to either on the podcast or through my own boys recruiting journey, they're watching the kids. I mean, yes, you have to check the box on level of talent. Absolutely. Right. But most of the time when they go to those games, it's not about, they know whether you can shoot or not by watching film. They're watching, what are you doing on the sidelines? Are you picking up the water bottles? Are you high-fiving your teammates? Are you cheering for them? How do you handle it when you lose? What are you doing? How are you talking to your parents after the game? I think a couple of coaches are like, yeah, as soon as I saw them yelling at their parents, I was like, done. Like, that's it. And parents, if you think they're not watching you, if you're going nuts or you think you are that parent that can't control it, go take a lap. You're hurting your child's recruiting. One college coach, he's like, they come on the recruiting visit. And if the mom is answering the questions for the kids, red flag.
My sister said the same thing.
I'm not recruiting you.
Right.
I'm recruiting your kid. They're probably also the ones that are sending the emails for their kids. Allow them to have the experience.
Speaking of recruiting, let's talk about college visits.
Nowhere is perfect. And there's going to be nothing that you can go through every single question. But on my website, actually, KirstenJonesInc.com, I have a list of questions through my own experience, through interviewing all the coaches of when you're going on a recruiting trip.
Oh, yeah.
Have this in your back pocket and no, don't ask every single question. But it's a dating situation, right? And even for non-athletes, right? You're trying to find the right fit of school you want to be at. And I say, it's a broken leg test.
Also here. In Appendix B. In your book. Okay, all the questions.
Or you can download it on the website. You want to be not just, thank you for recruiting me. And while you're honored, you want to make sure you're vetting that this is the right fit for you too. And what is your leadership style? How often do you change assistant coaches? How many kids transfer? They leave clues as to what kind of situation you're going to get yourself into potentially.
Also, just the art of reaching out to a coach is an art form, like you said. Is the kid sending the email? Is the parent sending the email? And so many pieces of advice you give are actually, just like your title says, empowering for the athlete themselves.
Having to talk to 100 different coaches multiple times, you're learning, who am I? What do I value? Yes. What is my story? Why am I interested in your school?
As a consultant, you have helped so many families navigate this space. It certainly is different when it's your own kid. So CJ was coming out of high school, brokenhearted to not play with his buddies anymore. I love that story. And didn't have many offers. So made a plan. Tell me a little bit about how the recruitment process went for CJ and you, and then also for Parker, and then currently where you're at with Kylie.
Yeah. So CJ, he had played back east at a prep school camp, and this prep school coach came up to him and said, "There's this thing called post-grad year, which is you don't get college credit. You do basically an extra year of high school, although you already have a high school diploma, but it gives you that opportunity to get recruited. They have, depending on the talent that they have on the team, they'll have sometimes dozens of college coaches come to the school to recruit on campus.
Wow.
So it becomes this opportunity. Yeah. Depending on, again, who they have on the squad, they could have 50 coaches in the gym at 6 a.m. to recruit. So CJ saw that as like, hey, I wasn't good enough now, but if I had one more year, and as a parent, I looked at it particularly for boys, but for all kids. And now, particularly having gone through COVID, one more year to mature, that frontal lobe is still wide open. It's not going to close until they're close to 25.
I think 26, right?
Executive functioning, being on time, like making plan, knowing what they want. What's the rush? Like, we're rushing you through to get a job and pay taxes, right? Like,
I know.
Why not enjoy that if it's their dream?
Yes.
And he's the kid. Actually, both of my boys they came out of the womb just only wanting to play basketball. And like that was for sure his passion. My middle one played basketball and soccer, but CJ was like basketball 24/7. So we said, okay, we are willing to go the distance with you and invest in this. But if by November you don't have any offers, you're going to need to apply to schools. But it was his dream. And he said, I just don't want to look back 15 years from now and go, I wonder if I could have played.
Right.
CJ had that opportunity. And then through the, I just helped him vet why those schools, and through those questions and through my own experience of having transferred, we tried to screen for the best fit. And again, would you be happy on this campus if you didn't have basketball? Finding your fit academically, finding then, what is the coaching style? What is the leadership style? What are those kids on the team saying about their experience? And I talked to an alum. What are the alum doing for a living? Be aware of what the environment is I think how you find fit. So for both Parker and CJ, Parker's now at Colgate, and he thought he only wanted to go to big school. He only wanted to be in a big school. He only went,
That's funny.
And he ended up at Hamilton, New York, which is 3,500 people.
Tiny.
And the school is 3,500.
Yeah.
But he's my middle child who will do anything for you if you tell him you love him. He needs that insular bubble. So he's in absolutely the right place.
Yeah, that's so
it's
great.
The right environment. He's sitting in a classroom with 10 other kids. They know his name. They're invested in him. Like, that's his personality. And then for my third one, for Kylie, she played volleyball for the last 5 years, but kind of came late to the game. I had her playing everything. She played basketball and softball and ice skating and everything. And by the time she got to volleyball when we were in LA, she was behind. And she hasn't had a great experience coaching wise. And she's like, I'm super into reading. I'm super into academics. I'm super into movies. I want to go to somewhere that I can find, and so she's like, I think I want to chase this other passion. And I'm like, that's awesome. Right.
Yeah.
Like, so parents, we got to parent the one we have, not the one we wish we had. And while it's wonderful,
that is amazing advice.
Right? Knowing when your kid is doing their thing and seeing them have that moment, whether it gets a big spotlight on it or not, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Because when they're doing their thing and they're enjoying it, you're not reminding them, you're not asking them to do it, you're not doing it for them. There's that inner sense of knowing,
right? I'm
enough.
Yeah. I love that. Parent the kid you have, not the kid you wish you had. That is such gold. Everyone needs to hear that. You've touched on this a little bit about the academic piece. When a student steps back and takes the long view of the odds of playing a professional sport are so slim. So college really is the place where you gain the life skills that you want to have, or it's that stepping stone to maybe you want to be a doctor. So you're going to go to a program or school that has an incredible pre-med program. Finding all of those elements like the injury test. If you get hurt day one, and you are not going to play for the 4 years that you signed up to play, do you want to be at the school? And is that a good academic fit for you as well? Have you ever had in this experience kids in high school that have had to choose club versus AP courses, or, I want to go to Princeton, I got an 1100 on the PSAT. Have you ever had to have those kind of conversations with your clients?
Yeah. And I think it comes in a different way. It comes from what level of athlete you are. And so it's easier to approach it from that angle. And from a basketball standpoint, you say high major, mid major, low major, D1, D2, D3, right? And so when kids say, I want to go play for Duke, and you can be like, even academics aside, right? Probably not realistic. right? When you're 5'10", right? But if you're 6'8", and you want to go to Duke, and you have 1450 on the SAT, right? Like,
great fit.
All the pieces need to line up. It can't just be, and my son, that was his dream, Duke, when he was 10, right? Like, which was awesome. And parents ask me that all the time. Well, my kid's not very good, but he says he wants to play in college. Is it okay for me to support that? Absolutely. I think we all need dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, my dream was to play on the U.S. national team. I grew up in Montana. We barely had matching knee pads. And I never made it to the national team, but I got to work for Nike for 15 years, right? Like, so the dream may pivot over time and it may alter. And again, CJ didn't get to go play for Duke, but he played D1 basketball. And now he's playing D3 basketball. And he's like, I'm having even more fun playing D3 than I ever thought I could have playing D1. So there's so many lessons in there. But so getting honest advice from coaches, I would talk to your coaching staff, and I talk to your counselors about fit. What is it realistic for a kid to get into that school? And then athletically, what is that school looking for in order for you to be able to compete there, both on and off the court? Because again, ultimately, if they're a 3-2, but you can get them into Duke because they're so good, but they can't survive there, like
they won't let you in.
Yeah.
This is what I hear from the admissions officers is that we don't want a kid who's going to struggle. We want a kid who's going to come in and do fine.
If you're parenting a late bloomer, go to a junior college for a couple of years, like save a bunch of money, let them develop. Like, I mean, I do see that too now, right? Like if it really is their dream, maybe not everybody can afford, but there are, and there's a lot of money available that
it's a lot of
left
money
on the table, right? So it's not,
there's all sorts of scholarships. Princeton has a scholarship for left-handed people. Did you know that? No. I know. Nobody told me. But there is a lot of grant money out there that can be found. That's such great advice. That's great advice for kids that are like, I'm not done playing. I love it. I want to go do a junior college. I want to do a post-grad year, and making that decision to then open their world up a little bit more. And at some point we all have to hang up our shoes.
The ball
really heartbreaking
for us all. I
know. Kirsten, this has been such a pleasure. Tell us a little bit about what you do specifically as a peak performance coach, where our viewers can find you.
So I do a ton of motivational speaking. I've been all over the United States last fall speaking about the book. The book came out in August. I'm still on the road. I can come in over Zoom, or I can speak in person to schools, to clubs, to parenting groups. We do book clubs with them. But about the book. And then I work one-on-one with athletes too. So you can go onto my website, KirstenJonesInc.com. Getting the tools, just like helping your kid get into the right school, is just helpful to help navigate it so that you don't get stressed out and you can be a better parent. When we have our mask on ourselves and we're not hyperventilating, then we can hopefully be better resources for our kids.
I love that. That's amazing. In closing, I always like to share a very interesting fact about student athletes. Did you know that 91% of student athletes graduated from a standard 4-year college in 2023, whereas only 62.2% of regular students graduated from a standard 4-year college in 2023?
Did not. I love that stat. I have a client right now who's not playing in college, and I'm not functioning at a high level because I used to have this routine.
Again, thank you for sharing your expertise. You have given our viewers such incredible advice. KirstenJonesInc.com. All of our viewers can find where to work with you, more about you. If you have any questions about anything academic, feel free to reach out to me. Our website is ivymethod.tutors.com, or email me at peyton@ivymethod.tutors.com. At Ivy Method, we offer custom tailored tutoring. We work one-on-one with students to help them achieve their academic goals, hit their target scores, write standout college essays. That's actually my favorite part. And we're super here to support. So just if you have any questions, just call us. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next episode. Take care.